Could you let them know to kill the music, please?
You're gonna kill Stevie Wonder?
Tell somebody you are the sunshine of my
I
life.
get the first dance with Yvonne.
Terry, we ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Jonesboro Rotary. Kind of a light crowd. I'm a little hurt. I guess everybody knew Doug wasn't going to be here, but
It's because of the
I'll
speaker.
do my best. Well, it could be because
It's 'cause of the speaker.
presenter as well. Welcome. We don't have any guests today. So with that, Oscar, would you lead us in our prayer?
Okay. First also, open our
Eyes
eyes
that we may see,
open
our ears so we may hear,
touch
touch our hearts that we may love,
clear
our minds that we may think, strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen.
Thank you. All right, I'll start with a couple of announcements. As you guys know, October 14th is our dodgeball tournament at the Hale Center at the Armory. There are some posters back there by Bill. If you've got a place that would make a good home for one of those posters, hey, go ahead and show that off. All right, I like that. If you've got any place that you think you can put one of those, take it with you. Again, we're trying to get up to 40 or 50 teams. The commitments are starting to roll in. It's going to be a great event. Every nickel will go to the CART Foundation for Alzheimer's research. So we're excited about that. I don't have any other club announcements. Does anybody have any announcements for the group? Yvonne?
I work the bread basket for Jonesboro Rotary once a month. And anytime anybody wants to join me, I am there on the first Friday of each month. And I get there about 7 o'clock, but you can come in about 9, and that's when we actually get everything going good. Anyhow, tomorrow, the bread basket is having their annual fundraiser at St. Luke Methodist Church, and they're selling pork barbecues, plates for $8 a plate. And for orders of 10 or more, they can be delivered if you choose for your company. Anyhow, the hours are from, I think 12 to noon. That's not right. Sorry.
11 to 2.
11 to 2.
12 to noon is a pretty tight window.
Delete that. Okay.
And also 5 to 7.
And 5 to 7, okay? So there's plenty of time to get lunch or dinner for your family, $8 a plate.
All right. Van? I stole your thunder. You're supposed to be the announcer.
Okay, I was loving it. I was getting to eat. You know what I
Oh,
love to do? I love to
continue,
eat.
continue to march.
No, look, hey, thank you. Thank you, President-elect Chris. Really appreciate that. It's really nice that you're stepping up to the plate to take care of business today.
I work with all.
Do we have any announcements today?
David, I've got one. My wife told me to mention the Boys and Girls Club golf tournament is next week. And also on the 14th, Saturday the 14th of October, they are having a 5K walk and run. It starts in downtown Sanford, sponsored by Chick-fil-A. I don't know what the entry fee is or anything. But anyway, Saturday, October 14th is the 5K walk and proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club.
Absolutely, very good. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. We've got to keep the Boys and Girls Club rolling. Any other announcements? Larry? Yes,
Is
sir.
anybody else going to the Wake Forest, Florida State game this weekend? I think it's this weekend.
It is Saturday.
Because apparently tickets have been sent here. And Jim Miller, who wasn't able to make it today, wanted me to pick them up. And
You don't know who got tickets?
Huh?
They weren't in the mailbox.
They weren't in the mailbox?
I stopped before on my way here.
Would they have gone directly to Doug? Probably.
They came directly to me last year,
Okay.
so they may have.
Well, I'm gonna just have Jim call Margaret and just say, you know, we don't have the tickets, but he's gonna go.
And if that doesn't work, then you can probably call Patrick or Larry, and they might.
Yeah,
be
is
able to
Larry
have
running it or
that-
Patrick this year?
I think Larry had sent the last
Probably Larry.
email out,
Okay.
but he might be able to pick them up at will call one if we didn't get them, so.
Thank you, Larry. David Spivey, yes.
Speaking of 5K runs, the YMCA is having one the last Saturday of October, the 28th, at Kiwanis Park. 8 a.m. You can go to the Ingram Family YMCA, and there's a link on there where you can register online, but it's family friendly. Baby carriages and strollers are welcome. You can take your pets. You know, it's not a timed run, so competitive runners like Larry may not be interested. It should be a fun event. They're gonna have apple bobbing and Halloween costume judging contest afterwards, you know, that kind of thing. So.
Nifty.
Last Saturday of October.
Yeah, well, keep us posted during the month too. Yes, Richard.
Time to be for me to introduce Carol's next project. We have these beautiful brochures for which David has done for her. Willing Hands, her charitable arm, is putting on a play called The Cost of Living. It was written in Anchorage, and Carol performed in it when it was up there and just loved it. It's basically a series of, it was put together with a series of interviews with 25 women who had breast cancer and had gone through that regimen. She said it's not a downer. There's a lot of humor involved, but there are 5 actresses that perform it. They are going to be doing it in the artist studio on Wicker and Lee and in Lisa's studio on October 13th, 14th, and 15th. Tickets are available. They're $25 a piece. And it's really, it seems like it's probably a woman thing, but they say no. They say it's both. But if you've had someone who's gone through that or had a friend who's involved, it brings a lot of that back, and it does allow, it is a really, really well done play. But anyway, she's putting that together. David's putting together these wonderful brochures and pamphlets, so I left a few of them back there. I've got a couple more. If you're interested, grab one, then talk to your wife and come to the play.
Richard, thank you so much. Really great. Okay, any other announcements? Yes.
Just a reminder to get
Bill.
your makeups, please, if you have not already. We're trying to make sure that we're capturing all our attendance and none are slipping through the cracks. Please just send me an email, let me know, whatever's easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Any other announcements?
Does somebody have a birthday today? David?
Who would that be?
Dave?
The Sanford Herald said it was David Morris.
I read that on Facebook. Don't believe everything you hear on Facebook. But it is, thank you.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you.
You broke 50 yet?
39.
On the course, on the...
On the course, no.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Really.
I gotta throw in one more thing. Actually, all the proceeds of this thing are going to the Central Carolina Cancer Auxiliary and the Lee County Highway to Healing. So,
Good point. Thank you. Any brags? Anybody? Yeah, it's Don. What you got?
Here comes Grandpa.
And a couple days ago, Tuesday night, little after 11, my 6th male grandchild was born. Joseph Douglas. So I'm figuring that Louisville's going to need some basketball players. So maybe I've got a shot at
In a couple of years.
free
Probably be a coach too.
Yeah.
Any other? Mr. Terry. Yes, sir.
This is a fun brag here.
You're always, all your brags are always
Oh,
fun.
yeah. This, believe it or not, I'm sitting here just talking to the guys back there. And Dr. McConville came through the door. I'm like, what the heck? I might as well give him a brag today. So I give Dr. McConville a brag just by him being Dr. McConville. And he's probably the only left-handed Rotary that we have in here, so.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I got a brag.
Right back to Terry.
Bragging on the football team, the county football team.
Yeah.
They're 5-0, having a great season. The running back, Jameer Smith, who's going to Notre Dame, was out for a couple of weeks. He had hurt his leg last week, or 2 weeks ago down at, was it?
West Carteret.
Carteret, yeah, West Carteret. You know, that team was 4-0 also, and it had been scoring well and had good defense. We held them 38-0. It was an amazing game. I couldn't believe it. He ran a 70-yard touchdown. And he came up to me and he said, I said, that was a great run. How's your leg? He said, well, I'm not up to par. I did what I had to do.
Oh my God.
So they got a game tomorrow night against Cummington's. Burlington Cummings used to be a great team. They're not, I don't think they are this year, but I'd recommend you all come out and see them play.
Who's
'cause it's-
going? You on?
It'll be
Anybody else going?
maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Let's get a Rotary block up there. These kids are really, really good. And a makeup, yeah. We had 3 Rotarians together, we got a makeup.
Yes, sir, John.
I've got to brag. I had attended the head of the class presentation, which Greenwood Elementary had made this year. Head of the class is an award that a foundation grants to the Lee County school that shows the most growth annual. This is the 3rd time that Greenwood Elementary had made it. So congratulations to Principal Amy Petrarca and her staff. Bill Stone was there. Bill was there with his lovely wife, AJ. AJ is the counselor at Greenwood Elementary. And we actually provide Character Plus training and mentorship at Greenwood as well. It was the best part of my day, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah, it was great.
There was 2 5th graders that got up and spoke, and they killed it. They were hilarious, they were funny, they were well beyond their years for maturity, but hats off to Greenwood.
Mention Edwards.
Well, Edwards, as a matter of fact, I
Yeah.
sat next to our Edwards principal, Larry I and Don and a couple other of us, David. We do mentorship at Edwards Elementary. Edwards Elementary missed head of the class by 0.40%.
Wow.
They missed it by that much as their metrics and however they calculate what growth means for scores and that kind of a thing. So, but what was really neat is that the fellowship with all of Lee County schools that was there, because all the Greenwood kids were there and all the staff were there. Well, actually, I was sitting next to the principal from Edwards, and we had a great time. So it was very nice.
Thank you, John. David Morris.
I got 2, Van.
All
The
right.
first one was, yes, today is my birthday, and it started off wonderful.
You want some change?
No, I was laying in bed, and 3 little grandkids came up, woke me up with cinnamon rolls, with candles and everything. So that started the day off well. The second one is, I am so sorry to tell you guys that Vanderbilt starts basketball practice tomorrow.
Oh, no.
First game is November 10th, and I'm excited.
Against Louisville?
Nope.
Oh, what's left of it?
Might be a good year to play them.
Yeah.
But anyway, they start tomorrow, and I'm excited, and I'm sure you'll be hearing about it.
Well, thank you.
We got it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chris. Yes, sir.
All right, so you all know that Footloose is going on right now. We close this weekend. If you want tickets for the weekend, you've got to get them now because we are going to sell out this weekend. This show, when we put when Peggy puts the schedule together, and she takes input from us, but when we commit to the schedule, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and we expected Footloose to do well. What we didn't expect is for it to be received as well as it has. It, at this point, even going into this weekend with tickets for sale, is the 3rd highest grossing show we've ever done at the Temple.
Wow.
So thanks you guys for your support coming out and checking out the show. It's a lot of fun if you haven't seen it. And this is a quick turnaround for us. We've got some scheduling things and we had to compact everything. But we open Clue just in a couple of weeks. So the rehearsals for that are about to start and we'll kick it off. And as good as Footloose is, I'm honest when I say this, Clue is actually the show I'm looking forward to most this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. There are over 200 different endings, and the audience will decide how the show ends each time around. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I also want to give $1 to John Crumpton's shirt, because that's the coolest shirt I've seen in a while. If you leave it laying around, I'm going to take it from you. I like that. But I also, though, I forgot. I was gifted a handful of Duke tickets for Friday night to the Duke-Miami game. 7 o'clock kickoff and a very short suspense to get rid of these. If there are some folks that want to go, let me know. And you're happy to come along. The general admission down on the end zone side. But I've been in those same seats before. It's a good time. Let me know. I've got a handful of them left.
Thank you, Chris. Any other brags? Okay, back to you, Chris.
I don't like this. I like sitting down a little bit more.
Hey, I hear you. I hear you.
All right, so our presenter today, I'm glad, doesn't need much introduction because I'm a little under the weather and tired of talking. It's a little bit of presentation, a little bit of club business. John is going to handle it from here. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Chris. Chris is right. I'm here to let you know that your board of directors is a very active board. No one should be surprised to hear that. We've got a very active club. We've got very active members in our club. We had met a short couple weeks ago, and we had met with President Doug to do a Rotary Club health check. The health check is just something that you check off. For those of you that have been on the board of directors or are currently on the board of directors, you're very familiar with the Gold Club and the designations that we win year after year after year. Of all 49 clubs in our district 7690, it's a small percentage that achieves Gold Club. And I don't expect that you can see this, but this was my notes from that meeting, and just about everything is checked off. So we're actually doing well. Well, there was also something that myself and Jim Miller had decided that we'd like to do, which is to do a member satisfaction survey. There's a member satisfaction survey that is on the RI website, and I'm going to be distributing it shortly. And the reason why we're going to do this is because we'd like to get kind of sort of our finger on the pulse of what are we doing well, what are we struggling with, what can we grow and do better at. And I don't want you to put your name on it. I've got a bunch of pens and I've got the surveys to pass out, and I want to thank David Spivey for printing those for us. Thank you, David. So before I pass those out, a little bit of an intro. Jim Miller and I were speaking, and as you all know, his last name is Miller, but it should be Shelterbox, because he is an official representative of Shelterbox USA. And he was supposed to be here, and he told me yesterday afternoon, he said, "John, I am so sorry. I can't be there for your presentation of Rotary." I said, "It's okay. You know, you guys know that I don't mind getting up and speaking and all that stuff." But what Jim and I were talking about a short week or so ago is that he's visited over 75 Rotary clubs in the past 2.5 years. And I thought, Jim, you should know how well a Rotary club is doing when you walk in. He said, entirely so. He said that it's apparent when he enters a Rotary club what kind of club he is visiting. If he was a guest speaker here at Jonesboro, he would think that this was a welcoming club and that we're very involved in the community, which is certainly true. However, every club can do better in keeping everyone involved, because involvement keeps a club focused and vibrant. So he can tell if the club is kind of waning or if it's growing and enthusiastic and that kind of a thing. He came across, he was in a club up in Cary a couple weeks ago, and he had printed this, and again, it doesn't matter if you can't read this. I, as a bulletin editor, will send this out to you. He came across a club president who's actually a marketing person who's the president for that current year, and he sends out an outstanding bulletin, and the bulletin is broken down into bullet points and bold fonts and caps and that kind of a thing. It says, what are we doing? What did we do last week? What did you miss because you didn't attend that event? What's coming up? And what's going to be a lot of fun? And he puts that into each and every bulletin, which I will send to you on email. He gets a good response from that. He actually teases his club, and he passes out like $10 cards if they respond and say that they actually read that bulletin. So your name gets put into a hat, and then it's a drawing of sorts. So he has increased his participation in the club, and you all know this, not just for reading the bulletin, but actually showing up and doing the Stop Hunger Now, and doing the CUOC and the Backpack Kids, and all the things that we do as a club. So before I get into the satisfaction survey, I found a really cool article. There's a gentleman named Michael Brand. Michael Brand is a Rotarian. He's a Rotarian in the Rotary Club of Oregon City, Oregon. And he says, nothing is more American than a civic club. Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis, Elk, Shriners. Frenchman Alexis de Tocqueville had rode all over the United States in the 1830s and was struck by the influence of religious, fraternal, and civic organizations, secret societies on American democracy, and concluded that they make communities stronger, more interesting, and more engaged. But there is some reason for concern. All of these civic clubs, once the backbone of community life in America, have been in a significant decline in the last 2 to 3 decades. And it's not that our clubs have changed, America has changed. Thus, the imperative is to reinvent for us, for the new America. So in a book, Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of American Community, a gentleman named Robert Putnam had documented that attending club meetings, such as those by the Rotary and the Kiwanis, has declined by 58% in the period from 1975 to 2000. This trend continued and even accelerated in the 21st century. Putnam notes it's part of an overall trend by Americans who have 43% fewer family dinners, 35% fewer of us have friends who drop by to see us at our houses. So pick an organization and the numbers are telling. In the past 2 decades, Rotary is down 20%, JCs are down 64%, Masons are down 76%. So recalling de Tocqueville's observation about the role our clubs play in a civil society, the decline represents a tangible loss to community. So the question remains, where do we go from here? What was not in this, it was not explained necessarily by the author. I agree that America has changed, and I think if you look around, I've been in Rotary 21 years, I believe. My dentist and podiatrist and my CPA and the gentleman that prepares my taxes and all that are not middle-aged white men necessarily anymore. Shouldn't be a criticism, doesn't mean that's good or bad news, but as Rotary is changing, and as there are 2-parent incomes in households, what this article talks about is that we need to cater to that demographic. So if it's not just mom staying at home and taking care of the kids with a primary breadwinner who has more free time, we need to adapt to that, and we need to find out how we can be more attractive to the 30 to 45 to 50-year-old crowd, lest we become a statistic of a club that's declining. Now, we have been hovering at around 50 for a population for a membership. We actually have been at least +1 for the last several years. +1 means that we may organically lose 2 or 3 members every year, and it happens every year. Job transfer, that kind of a thing. But if we lose 2 or 3 members, we gain 4 members. So we're +1 or 2, and we're on the same track. Larry's been doing a fantastic job with kicking us in the butt for membership drives and all that. So we are a club that's growing. We are not a club that is waning. And actually, if you think about it, the folks that are coming into our club are younger and more vibrant and bringing new ideas, which is a good thing. So this article right here talks about retention, it talks about recruitment. It also talks rather about thinking in tribes and not community. The classic definition of community is associated with a physical space. Hence, many of our civic clubs are branded with a place such as Jamestown Lions Club. But emerging generations of Americans now define community by their affinities. The gay community, the tech community. Even college alumni groups now tout themselves like independent countries such as Spartan Nation at Michigan State University. There's a gentleman named Seth Godin. He's an entrepreneur who ruminates on marketing in the digital age. He's authored several books. He argues that digital life has ended traditional mass communication and replaced it with an ancient human social unit called the tribe. These are groupings of people founded on shared ideas and values. As such, tribes give ordinary people the power to lead and make big change. So in this world, what people desire most is an opportunity to connect with one another. But as you know, how do they connect? Do they connect with a handshake and a clipboard and a business card now? Anyone? How do they connect?
Social media.
Yeah. Digital. So people like bonding with other people. It's human nature. If we create opportunities for people to connect, they'll open up and feel more comfortable. As they do, they'll invite us into their lives and will introduce us to their friends. Then their friends become our family, our tribe. One by one, we rebuild our clubs. So we got to kind of sort of reinvent it a little bit. We got to think about how can we be attractive to folks who are coming in. Because our fellowship, I will always argue, is fantastic. Couldn't say that in a more sincere fashion. I love the fellowship and friendship that I have. And indeed, the professionals, the careers that I find in Rotary is why I continue to be a Rotarian. I'm actually paring down as my industry, my real estate industry ramps up. I have been rolling off of boards of directors, but I'm keeping Rotary because it's the one that I like the most. It's the one that I always block out Thursday from 12 to 1. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article. The article actually goes into how we need to invite and bring in families in Rotary. And I thought that was appropriate that I might be the one that talks about that, because if you ever look in the bulletin pictures of when we do the backpack pails, and you'll see my 2 boys there if they're not in school at the time. Or a lot of you know my kids, and Larry found a Carolina Hurricanes jersey at a yard sale years ago. And he thought of John Ramsburg and said, he's got 2 boys, he'd like this. He purchased it, brought it to Rotary, and I still have it. And we actually saw Larry a couple Fridays ago at the Temple Theater at Footloose. Do you see the fellowship? Now that's not even, none of that story that I was talking about had anything to do with volunteerism and giving back to the community. That was actually a fellowship story. So if we can bring folks in and not have the objection of, my life's too busy with kids, valid, true statement by the way, what we need to do is we need to say, how can we include you in Rotary so that your kids, your spouse will feel welcome in our club? And indeed, I really think that we are welcoming. I don't think that we uninvite or don't include family, but I just don't want that to be the reason why people don't want to come in and say, I don't have the time for Rotary. So I've already told you this. This is the member satisfaction survey. Specifically, and I've got pens to hand out, don't want your name at the top of this because we don't need your name. It doesn't matter whom you are. It's better if it is anonymous. We are going to compile this data. It's basically, you guys have done these surveys before. Agree, somewhat agree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat disagree, and disagree, right? You've got 5 choices, and it asks pretty open-ended questions. But this will objectively give us, your board, the opportunity to see where we excel at and where we could do better. And the reason I think you probably know why I'm saying no name is because we want your honest answers. We don't want you to look at that and say, oh, I don't want to let John know that this meeting was boring. Or something like that. I want you to...
You don't know this guy, do you?
Yeah, I think David's right. They would actually tell me this was a boring meeting. Right, exactly. So part of our program today is time for y'all to fill out this survey. Terry, I don't know how you're going to edit this on the YouTube video because it's going to get real boring in the next 8 minutes, but it's going to fall pretty quiet for the next 8 or so minutes. So go ahead, fill it out. The shelter box pens are courtesy of Mr. Jim Miller. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And you know the routine. When you're done, just bring them up or pass them forward.
You can sing and dance.
I can't sing and dance. That's the thing, you know. I can hum.
Well, John, you were right.
I told you it was going to get quiet. I told you it was going to get quiet.
We're doing something we don't normally do. Thank you.
And we're not talking, we're not running our mouth.
Difficult for this crowd.
Yeah, it is. No cheating. Don't look at your neighbor.
John, are we gonna send this out to people on here?
Thank you. Yeah, for what it's worth, folks, I was going to say if you're not here in the meeting today, that didn't make sense, did it? I will be sending this out digitally through the email for those that are not in the meeting today. That's right. Thank you.
Is there some kind of prize we can
There is no prize if you're the first to finish.
Oh, come on.
Oh, there's Richard. Richard got it in first. There you go, Richard.
You're gonna have plenty of time once they probably need to send in a postcard.
Looking forward to it.
And I have a bridge to sign. That's one.
It's in your text.
Oh, this is it. That's the finished stack right there.
Don wants me to give a presentation when our taxes go down with this new tax bill.
That sounds great. That's the federal? Yeah.
When?
That's what I said. I said when. I don't plan on doing anything.
You didn't say if, you just
No.
said when.
We'll have to wait.
Yeah, no, I won't be preparing anytime in the near future.
Membership problems, or we're gonna have to wait for the board?
So I got to follow up after this too. I've got to follow up after
Oh, okay.
this. Yeah.
Well, then mention that we'll have a
I
board.
will.
Hey, Bob? Could you do a follow-up with Jamie and Ken?
Sure, so you wonder.
Yeah.
Thank you,
You said
ma'am.
that, yeah, Ken was out of town. And I'd sent a note to Jamie, but I don't think they look at the emails.
Thank you, David.
He was in the room. Coming soon.
Yeah, I didn't think it was down.
Very good, very good, very good. You already have your tickets? Yeah, that was almost,
He could really
almost
help.
sold. It's a fun show, it's high energy.
Wash right
The walkout was,
You know what I mean?
Tired when you walk out.
it's a, those kids are something else.
Yeah,
And
they
we
are.
do so much
It's
now
really
in that
nice.
area.
Good, good.
Thank
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
You like to travel?
Well, let me know, I'll be out of town for 3
What's that?
weeks.
All right.
What's that?
And it doesn't mean that they can't join while I'm out of town, but if they want.
Thank you, David.
You already committed to joining?
No, man,
Oh,
I thought they-
You're like fourth or fifth person.
oh, maybe David.
You haven't signed
I think he
Terry.
handed it to
No, I
me.
haven't seen it.
All right, is that about it?
Don't be surprised now.
With a little bit of time that we have left, I think Janice and maybe Kevin are still finishing up there. Thank you for participating in this. Again, Larry did a good job of reminding me that I'm going to send this out to those that are not here, to the folks that could not be here. I do have it in a PDF form, and I think you can fill it out online. So don't stuff the ballot box and fill out 3 of them and send them in.
Anonymously.
Yeah, that's right. Who here has been a member of another Rotary Club besides this one? That is greater than 50%. This is my second club. Would anyone like to comment on your previous Rotary Club, if you have experience with, it was awesome, it was 150 people, it was slow, it was only 13 people, it was strict, it was lax. What do you think, Larry? What do you think?
Yeah, I came from a club of about 90 in Pennsylvania. And it was one of these really good social groups. And I tell you, you try to plan your travel schedule around being there Thursday at noon to being there at Rotary. and our attendance hardly ever went under 90%. It was just one of these groups that wanted to be together. We did an awful lot of stuff for the community, and it really got me into Rotary to see that kind of participation.
My first club was was in Cary. There's 5 Rotary clubs in Cary, and it was a 8 a.m. Monday morning club. It was a breakfast club, and our attendance in that club, this goes back to the late 1990s, was always 93%. Always. I think, and they were actually, the fellowship was fantastic. This was a good club. I'm not presenting this as it was a strict club. They would fine you openly if your phone went off.
Yeah.
They would fine you if you weren't wearing your name tag.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Well,
Any other comments?
Well, maybe I've been a little too lax on that. You know, me, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way or anything like that, but
Too nice you guy.
yeah.
Well, we kind of don't go to the fine side.
Jeff has something.
I mean,
Please.
disrespect when I say this, but maybe it's not the people, maybe it's the club. And what I mean by that is maybe the club doesn't offer opportunities that are convenient for the club members. Like,
Yeah.
I would propose honestly an e-club. You know, why not just pay your dues? And essentially, they can have a conference call once a month or something like that, once a week. You know, we could actually involve more members that way. And then if they choose to show up, they could purchase their meal.
This does exist. Thank you, Jeff. This does exist. There are clubs right now that meet, if there's 4 given meetings in a given month. 2 of the meetings are clubs like this for 59.5 minutes, and 2 of the meetings are in a social setting. Sometimes they meet for 3 meetings, and 1 meeting is an outreach civic type event. The social meetings might be, wine and cheese kind of a thing. Or it might be a meeting at someone's place of business and fellowshipping there. But they found that that's actually more conducive and growing more. And what I was alluding to in the article here, they're growing more below 50s. Again, it should not be derogatory. It shouldn't be a good club is a certain age and a bad club is a different age. But the fact that the club is growing and vibrant is what the point of the article's conversation was. So yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Don.
Couple comments. I belong to a Rotary Club in northwestern Pennsylvania, and you triggered my memory on this. One of our best attended events was that we would have a dinner meeting at the business of one of our members.
Oh, okay.
And we invited families
Yeah.
to attend that. They got to present information on their business. It was a nice professional networking. Plus, it allowed people at that time. I had 2 kids at home, and it gave me a chance to take the kids. The other thing is, as someone who hasn't lived in Sanford all that long, one of the things that I find most valuable about this club is the wealth of information that I have learned about my community through the programs. I go home and I say to my wife, "Did you know?" And then I start telling her about this program, and she says,
I totally agree.
"Boy, it's a tremendous program, and it really gives you a sense of pride that you live in Sanford."
Great comments, Don. I totally agree.
I think that to piggyback on that, I'm like you, I've only been here about 8 years. And when we weren't meeting here because of the fire, we went to places in the county that I didn't even know existed. So, I mean, it was just in the history. We went to the county building, that used to be the hospital.
Oh, that was fun, yeah.
I mean, I just found out more about that than anything else. So, but that's a good point.
I just talked about that with them like literally 5 minutes ago, and I said that was my favorite time in Rotary.
Yeah.
I said at that time when this place burned down, unfortunately, I'm glad it did.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, that was some of the best time for
It
me
was.
actually experienced. You know, I mean, I got to see things and hear things I've never done. The hospital, the old hospital,
Awesome.
Sanford Health and Rehab programs, and we enjoyed those programs.
Well, we've got a pot of monies. Our dues structure goes to the meals, so we can cater the event. We can go someplace else. That's Sounds like a good suggestion.
Theater that we could
The
do.
Temple Theater that we go upstairs in the balcony and, so I need to stop talking, Chris, because you need to get the raffle thing done, so I'm running low on time.
Next,
gonna go over my
in
first day of
November,
yours.
we'll be
That's what I'm
at
saying.
Carolina Trace, so we are moving around. And thanks, David, for the banner. We'll use this on Sunday when we try to reach out to the Carolina Trace community at the street fair. If anybody wants to come from noon to 4 and help us, we've got 4 hours of work. We divided it up amongst 4 people, but anybody else who wants to come over. But that's the kind of outreach we need to do.
That's it.
We really need to tell everybody just exactly what Don has experienced here. And I have too, because if it hadn't been for Rotary, I wouldn't be in the midst of all the stuff I do.
Actually, yeah, that's right. All right, thank you.
All right. So we have got $42 today to the winner. Let's see if I'll- The winner is 6457. 6457. Hey!
Andy gets it again.
I did not win.
Oh, very nice. Thanks,
Silver
Andy.
box gets it again. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
I'll tell Jim.
All right, next week's program will be Robert Reeves Jr., who will be here to talk to us about NC House stuff, and then his counterpart, John Sauls, will be here 3 weeks from now. In between, Elizabeth Arias will be here to talk, and that's going to be really interesting. She's got a clothing line, and she's right here from in Sanford. Bill Stone set that up, and I'm really, really interested to hear that. Not that I'm not interested to hear John or Robert talk about politics. Andy, will you lead us in the four-way test
How
of
about
that?
the short board meeting
Short board meeting right after this?
afterwards?
Short board meeting right after this. Is it the truth? Is it
They're all concerned. Will it build and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.